Hey there. Today I want to talk to you about the 5 steps to creating a bookkeeping workflow in your company so that you can spend less time doing it and run your business like a well-oiled machine. So that's the dream, isn't it? This is the exact 5 steps that I use, 4 steps, because, well, you'll see. The exact 4 steps that I set all of my clients up with, and it's the workflow that works for us. So the first step in making sure that you have a great bookkeeping workflow is, how do you manage your receipts? That is the trickiest one too, I think, depending on how you tend to interact with your receipts. Managing receipts up front can be huge when you go to do your bookkeeping later. And what do I mean by managing receipts? I mean basically keeping track of them. So a lot of times you'll get a physical receipt. It'll be a really inopportune time, like you're rushing out the door of a restaurant or you're about to drive away from a gas pump or something like that. Sometimes you get them via email, like your suppliers will send them to you by email, or sometimes like you just don't get them at all. Sometimes you have to actually log into a portal to go get them. So I love the idea of having a receipt management app for this. There's 2 major ones, Dext and HubDoc. They do basically the same thing. They interact a little bit differently, or the interface is a little bit different, but they're generally the same thing. I use Dext in my company. I think it's better than HubDoc because of its interface and the way that works, that sort of thing. But basically, what it does is it allows you to take pictures on your phone with the app, and it uploads to the app. Or you can forward an email if you get an email receipt, or you can put in an email address into your supplier's website so that they just send the receipt there. This is so important because it's really easy to lose receipts, and if the CRA ever asks you to prove your expenses, you're going to have to supply those receipts. They will take electronic copies, so you don't need the physical ones anymore, and this receipt management app is a really great way to do that. Receipt management apps are usually about $25-ish a month, which I think is usually worth it. If you've only got a few receipts that you're doing in a month, maybe not, but if you have more than, say, 20 receipts in a month, maybe even 15, receipt management app is definitely the way to go. If you don't want to do a receipt management app, all you need is a folder in your cloud storage of choice. So Microsoft OneDrive, iCloud, that kind of thing. Set up your folder, set them up by years, and then just keep your receipts in there. That is the number 1 step, receipt management. Create a system for managing receipts. Do it as you get your receipts. Don't let them pile up, because that pile of receipts is the thing that feels so overwhelming. So just handle them as they come up. Step number 2, block out bookkeeping time. I would do this every week. Like, have a Finance Friday or Money Monday or Weird Stuff Wednesday. That's probably not a good one, but just block out the time to do your bookkeeping. It might only take you 20 minutes a week, but it makes so much of a difference if you're doing it every week, because you're not feeling that overwhelm like I was talking about with the receipts. You're not like, oh my God, I have so much to do. You can just pick at it in little pieces, and you remember what you spent money on. I have definitely talked to people who I'm doing catch up of like a year or two, and I ask them, hey, what'd you spend money on? What did you buy at Canadian Tire or whatever? And they're like, oh, I don't remember, which goes back to step 1, manage your receipts, because if you've got receipts, then that question gets a lot easier. So block out bookkeeping time, do it every week. If you have to stretch it out, do it once a month. If you don't have that many transactions, maybe once a month, but I still kind of love it once a week, because then you don't get to the end of the month and go like, oh, how do I do this again? I remember doing month-end closes at the company I used to work for, and there were things that I only do once a month, and then I forget how to do it. So yeah, do it once a week. It's worth it. Block out that bookkeeping time. Number 3, automate as much as possible. So with a receipt management app that connects to something like QuickBooks, you can push your receipts into QuickBooks. They post the transaction right into QuickBooks, and then you can just match it up in your bank feed. You can also set up rules within QuickBooks to help you do a lot of the heavy lifting for categorizing transactions. I think this is really the place that you're going to save time, is in these automations. I had a boss that I worked for at the company before I started this business, and he used to say, if you're doing something manually, if you're repeating a process over and over, there's probably a better way to do that. You probably have, I mean, he was talking about Excel, but it's probably a way to automate that. So automate as much as possible. That bookkeeping time that you've blocked out in the step before this one is going to feel a lot less onerous if you know that you're only doing the pieces that can't be automated. Step number 4 is run reports, because you actually want to get information back out of your books. That's so important. If you're just sort of putting in the bookkeeping, you're categorizing transactions, and then it just feels like you're dumping information into a void, that's not helpful. That's not motivating to keep doing it. You need to be getting something back out of it. And like tax compliance is, I mean, something you're getting out of it, but that doesn't feel like it's helping, really. I mean, I don't feel like that's helping me when I'm like, well, I guess I'm tax compliant. I love to be able to answer questions. So like, how much did I spend on software apps last month? What would happen if I hired an employee? I can't answer those questions if I'm not doing my bookkeeping regularly. So I think having a really good idea of what questions you need answered from your financial information will help you to stay motivated to do your bookkeeping, because you'll know, hey, if I do this bookkeeping, I can then run these reports and get the answers that I'm looking for. So that's huge. That's like the win. That's like when you have a goal and then you're like, okay, how am I going to reward myself for this goal? I mean, sometimes like fancy coffee or something, but also like doing the thing can be the reward. So in this case, doing the thing can be the reward. And step number 5, not really a step so much as just know when to outsource it. I mean, I love the idea of small business owners when they're very small doing their bookkeeping themselves, as long as they have good support to be able to understand how to do it properly, because you learn so much by doing the bookkeeping for yourself. And I just think that learning is invaluable. However, there comes a point when it either gets to be too complicated, so it's out of the scope of your knowledge, or the company gets to be big enough that you have so many things to do that it's worth it to pay somebody to do that bookkeeping for you, because your CEO tasks are worth more in that when you're making strategic decisions, that's worth more, and that's way more specialized to you. Only you can make those decisions, whereas paying somebody to do your bookkeeping, that's when it's time to outsource. So know when to outsource is the 5th. I guess that one's more of a tip than a step, but know when to outsource. If you have a question about any of these steps, then book a call with me. I'd love to chat. You can also ask your questions in the comments. And if you are at step 5 and you're ready to outsource, I am your girl for that. Book a call. I left the link in the description. I would love to chat with you about your business and to find out if we're a good fit. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you in the future.